Hello everyone, happy May. So I am here with the May video for the Love Well Foundation. And as most of you know, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. So I thought this month what we would talk about is mental health awareness, but also stigma and how that became attached to mental health, mental illness, and how it's affecting things, and also what we can try to do to improve it. So, one of the main goals of the amazing founders of the Lovewell Foundation is to decrease that stigma. And so, I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. So, if you want to define stigma, basically it is defined as a mark of disgrace that is associated with a particular person or quality. So, if someone says that person has mental illness, they automatically take on this negative, connotation, if you will. So, I want to talk about also, like, where does that come from? So, what has happened that made this such a negative thing? And, where did that all start? It's difficult to know exactly where this negative stigma started, but what I did find, and bear with me, I am using some notes because I didn't want to get my examples mixed up, but there are several places in history that talk about mental illness and how those people were treated so negatively, inhumanely. And so that's kind of how everything got started. And unfortunately, it really hasn't changed much, even, for as advanced as, we seem to be at this point. So back, for instance, in ancient Greece, a stigma was a brand that marked anyone who was a slave or a criminal or anyone who had any symptoms of mental illness. These people were not, sent to a hospital ever. They were not, treated. They just were imprisoned and tortured, sometimes killed. So, it shows just how they didn't think of it as a disease. They thought something was wrong with them. So it also goes on to say that during the Middle Ages, people thought that symptoms of mental illness meant that you were possessed by demons. Some cultures thought you were being punished by God because you were just a bad person. And so they were just being punished, and that's why they were acting that way. So these people were never, ever, like I said, hospitalized or treated in any such way. They were sent away to, I guess you could call them institutions. Back then, I'm sure it wasn't even up to that, but they were sent away, and they were tortured, and they were punished for how they were acting, even though they had no control. This was a chemical imbalance, not something they were doing just to be rude. So then, during the Nazi takeover over in Germany, and during that time, that did not help mental health stigma at all. Those people who were mentally ill had any symptoms. Okay, they were either killed, they were sterilized. People performed, horrible scientific research tests on them, which just really increased the stigma everywhere. It didn't really help the situation. People became so scared of people with mental illness. Those are just some examples of times in history where, the stigma was made even worse. In general, people with mental health issues or mental illness, they've been thought of as dangerous. People think that it is a character flaw and not actually a chemical imbalance, so they think they're just bad people. They think, one of my favorites, that, these disorders, mental illnesses, along with, addiction, they think that those are just, they're not diseases. They just think of them as something they can fix. It's a choice, which, we know these are not true. So these are all chemical imbalances. There's a reason they're acting the way they are. So stigmas, they come from society. They come from different parts of society, as we've, those examples, they come from different cultures. Different religions believe that, like I said, it's spiritual possession. So it just kind of depends. The other problem, in today's society that we can think of entertainment industry. So it's great that some of these celebrities are now coming to the forefront with some of their mental health problems, bipolar disorder, gender dysphoria, bipolar disorder, what have you. But at the same time, look at the entertainment industry and the movies that we see. I don't know if anyone saw the movie The Joker. So, this portrayed a very seriously mentally ill person and showed how dangerous they can become if left untreated. So people think, oh man, that guy was sick, but look how dangerous he was. Look what he did. And now they go into the world thinking that's what happens when people have mental illness. They get dangerous and they start going, acting like that. So it's difficult. People think therapy is a waste of time. They think that you can't prevent any kind of mental illness or treat any kind of mental illness. These are all the things that come along with that stigma, these beliefs that are surrounding it. So the problem with a stigma, so what it can do to us is it decreases people from getting help because they're scared, they're embarrassed, they're ashamed. So they're not getting help, so they're left untreated. So they feel worse. There's more problems with addiction, suicide, all of those things because these people are not seeking treatment for their illness. It also causes problems in families because someone in their family may have a mental illness and they're too afraid to talk about it, so they kind of shun that person. Or, like I said, in the older days, that person just went away. And nowadays some families, they hide that person, or maybe they just get rid of that. They don't talk to them anymore, so as that person gets older and moves out, goes on their own, they don't even want to talk to somebody because they're part of the family that doesn't do well and they are too embarrassed and ashamed. So instead of getting them help, they just shun them. So another impact that it can have, it leads to very distorted self-image, which makes it even harder to feel good. So if you have depression, you have anxiety, you have an eating disorder, any of these things, and then other people are now shaming you for what you're doing, you have a whole lot of guilt. You have a very distorted image of yourself, which just adds to your mental illness. So there's no support, when people believe the stigma. There's just no support from those people. Another thing is that it can come from all different places. So this stigma doesn't just come, from people we know or friends or family members, but society. I talked about the entertainment industry. So many things, can instigate or I guess support this stigma. So what can we do? It may sound, like a very big question. What can we do, just as people, to try and break this stigma? So it was actually very interesting when I started reading some of these statistics. So several companies actually offer an EAP, which is an employee assistance program. And the company I work for actually offers this. So basically what it is, it's a anonymous service. So you can go in and say, listen, I'm having trouble with addiction, with depression, with anxiety, whatever it is. And they will help to get you in touch with a counselor, a therapist, a psychiatrist, whatever it is that you might need. And it's all anonymous. It's at either zero cost or very little cost to the employee. It's paid for by the employer. So the sad part is that so many companies offer this. Do you know that only about 4% of the employees actually reach out for help? So it's really sad. That's such a low number. And I'll tell you, I work in healthcare, and I can tell you that it's a difficult field. I mean, not that there are not other difficult fields. This is just the one I personally can tell you. It's a difficult field. There's a lot happening, and it's mentally very difficult sometimes. And to think that, only 4% of those people are actually reaching out when it's free. It's provided for them. It's anonymous. There's no work to it. You call one number. You don't have to go through your insurance company. You don't have to go through the phone book. Oh, sorry. People don't have phone books anymore. You know what I mean? You don't have to Google how to find the closest therapist. So all of the work is done for you, and people still are not reaching out for that help because they're afraid of the shame and guilt and stigma that goes with it. So where do you think right now, what would you say if you asked 100 people between the ages of 18 and 25 if they needed help with a mental health problem or were concerned that they had a mental health problem, where would they go? The internet. So our teenagers, our young adults, they're Googling their mental illness problems, which is very scary because if you Google stuff, you know all the things that can come up. So it's very frustrating because these people, that's what's happening because of this stigma. They're afraid to say anything. They don't want to tell their friends. They don't want to tell their mom and dad. They don't want to tell an aunt, a counselor, anybody because they're afraid they're going to feel shame or someone's going to make them feel guilty about, just shake it off. You'll be fine, and that's not true. So what we can do is talk to people, tell people. If you have had a mental illness, if you have been diagnosed anything, if you have ever experienced depression, anxiety, what have you, tell people. Be open about it. Because if you're open about it, they're like, oh, really? I went through the same thing. Or, oh my gosh, so I've been going through something. People who had someone they knew who was open about their mental illness were like 10 times more likely to seek help for their mental illness symptoms because they knew someone who was open enough to talk about it and sort of decrease that stigma. They knew one person who talked openly about it, and that made them 10 times more likely to go and get help. So think about if you could talk to 5 people and say, hey, I have been going through something and I wanted to share it with you because I thought I was the only one. And I feel like you should know just talk to your friends. Let your friends know. I'm not saying walk up to random strangers on the street, but be honest and open with your family and your friends and whoever you can. Support groups, all these things will help someone. So I thought that was really interesting. One person opened up to these people and they were 10 times more likely to go get help. That's huge. What else can we do? Watch your language. I'm not talking about 4-letter words. We throw the words around. Crazy, bipolar, I'm losing my mind, I need to be locked up, put me in the loony bin. I hear all of those words being thrown around in day-to-day conversation. We need to stop that. Because we're giving it sort of a comical, negative connotation, when really those are serious things we should not be joking about. So watch your language, be careful of what you're saying. Be empathetic, be compassionate for those around you. If you notice they're acting different, if you notice some outward signs, they're isolating, they're withdrawn, they're acting different than normal, say something. Hey, are you doing okay? Because you're acting like something might be bothering you. Can I help you? And if they don't want to open up, okay. But make sure they know, that's fine. If you don't want to talk about it, that's okay. But hey, if you need me, just call. I'm right here. I can talk to you. I've been through some stuff. I can maybe help you out. I can help you find someone to help you. Be an advocate for mental health. Become parts of, organizations like the Love Well Foundation. Wear the t-shirts. I wear mine all the time. Decrease the stigma. All of these things, it just gets it out there. People see it and it just sparks something in their brain. Even if it's not right then, they see it or they hear you say something about it, and later on down the road, it's going to come back to them that, oh, I remember somebody saying that they went to this place and got really, really good help. Okay, maybe I should call that place. So it doesn't take a lot, but I think a lot of people can do a lot of good pretty simply if we were just make it something we were okay talking about. So, that's what I'm trying to do. That's what the Love Well Foundation is letting me use their forum to do. And, that's one of the main goals of the Love Well Foundation. And I think it's awesome because we need people to stand up and talk about this and make it so that, mental health is just as important as physical health. And I have patients all the time who come in and say, my family doesn't think I need to be on any medication. My family doesn't think I need therapy. They don't really think this is a thing. They think I'm just going through a rough time. And I tell them, and maybe you are, but it's okay to need help, even if it's just through a rough time. And if you woke up in the morning and your blood pressure was high and you said, hey, my blood pressure has been high for 2 weeks now. I am going to go to the doctor and see if I need to get on medication or just be monitored. Your family wouldn't blink twice about that. They would say, good for you. Way to take care of yourself. But if you wake up anxious and depressed every morning for 2 weeks and you say, you know what, this has been going on for a while. I think I might need to call someone and get some help. I don't know if I need medication or just someone to talk to, but I think I need to be monitored a little closely. And your family's like, dude, no, you're fine. Like, just suck it up. Like, why is that? No, they're the exact same thing. They should be saying, hey, good job. Good job at taking care of yourself. If you need help, let me know. So it's sad to me that families are like that, or friends, but it's lack of education. So that's the best thing we can do. Get the knowledge, get the information out there to other people so they know it's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to be upset about. People don't hide, the fact that they might have a physical problem. They go to the doctor and they talk about it openly. So we shouldn't hide the fact that we might have mental problems. They're treatable just like everything else. So anyway, hopefully that kind of answered some questions and just made you more aware about things you can do and about the stigma. And all right, I will talk to you guys next month. As always, if you have any questions, just feel free to reach out. Talk to you soon. Bye.